Welcome aboard Skylark Outdoors here, and today we are going to review the Bayliner VR5 OB, which stands for Outboard. We are at the Palm Beach International Boat Show, and you can see the price right there, $48,440. However, you can build this boat, and I have seen it as low as $38,100 online. It's got a 150 horsepower Mercury outboard engine, which is right there, and that is the max horsepower for this boat as well. You can see the swim platform is actually fairly large on the rear here, and then they have a post hole for putting in a sports pole to tow skiers, tubers, wakeboarders, whatever you want. And you've kind of got a day bed on the rear here, and then a latching entry. You fold that down, and then that's going to give you a full day bed in the back. But I like the size of this rear platform so you can hang out, dangle your feet in the water, and then I also like that they have that pole that is removable. You can put it in and out, and then you're going to be able to tow tubers, skiers, whatever you want. Now, this boat comes in at 20 feet 7 inches. It's got a 8-foot beam and 150 horsepower max. It weighs 4,095 pounds on a trailer, and what I like about that is that means that you can tow this with pretty much any mid-size to large SUV on the market that's capable of towing 5,000 pounds, which is nice for this boat, so you can take it wherever you want. As we move into the cockpit here, you can see the interior. I do really like this interior. Punches above its weight class, and then you've got that seat back which can fold backwards or forwards, and that's going to give you more space there, as well as you've got some storage up here for life jackets, throwables, whatever you want. And then you've got this hatch underneath, and typically that's where you'd put a wakeboard, skis, a tow rope. They've got the light pole and then the ski pole there for being able to tow skiers. At the helm, we've got our standard Mercury controls and gauges there. Up at the front, you could probably fit 2 or 3 people up here comfortably. You got some speakers, a couple cup holders. This is rated for 9 people, so you have a 9-person capacity. And then we've got our canvas up top to give you some shade. And that looks like a very comfortable, nice captain's chair there. And you can actually fold up that seat as well, so you can get a higher sit on there when you've got the bow up and you are on plane. Now, what I like about this boat is the entry price, and I like that you can tow this with most SUVs, so you don't have to have a truck. And then right next to this is a one size larger Bayliner than this particular boat right here, which is the Bayliner VR5 OB, and then right next to it, that's the M17, which is actually smaller than this. So it's nice to have these 3 Bayliner boats to compare. And the biggest difference between this one and the VR5 is that that has a wake tower or ski tower on it that is a hardtop, and then these two are a little bit smaller and they don't have hard tops. You just get that canvas cover that's going to fold down, which makes for really easy storage and towing. But if you want the tower, you're going to have to go one size up. That is not on this boat. However, it does make it very easy to tow. It makes it lightweight, and it makes it very easy to store, so you can throw this in your garage at the end of the weekend. You don't have to fold that tower down or anything else. So you do have a 33-gallon capacity in this boat, so fairly good capacity. With 150 horsepower, you're going to get good mileage on this. You do have a self-bailing cockpit on this as well. And I think this is a great lake boat, as well as a boat that you could trailer around. With an outboard motor, that means that you could take it in freshwater or you could take it in saltwater, because with the outboard, you can just flush that at the end of the day, as well as your maintenance is typically going to be less on an outboard. It's going to be easier to winterize than the inboard or a drive motor. So I'm a big fan of outboards, and in this size boat, typically you give up some space with that, but it really doesn't feel like that because you still have this swim platform in the back where you can sit on, dangle in the water. There is a ladder to get in and out of there. You've got this rear rest, and then you have this full bench sheet in the back that wraps around the captain's chairs and a couple of seats up front. Now, what you can see with this boat compared to the one on the left of it is it actually does have a much higher dead rise to it, as well as the transom is higher all the way around on this. and the gunnels of the boat are higher. So it does sit a little bit higher out of the water than the Bayliner M17, which means you're going to have a little bit drier ride, typically a little bit more stable ride, and you're going to be able to soak up chop a little bit better in this just because of the weight when compared to a smaller boat, as well as you've got the windscreen on this, which you don't necessarily have on that Bayliner M17. Now you do pay for that price differential, and once again, when I look at this seating arrangement and the leather or pleather, whatever it is here, I do really like it. It looks nicer than you would think on a boat of this size. I like the tan. I think that's a nice color choice for a boat. It's not going to look as dirty over time, and it is going to typically not be as hot as a darker color. Probably a little bit hotter than white when you're sitting on it, but it's nice that you have a lot of shade on this boat. So that's another advantage of this. The pros of this boat are that it's going to be easy to trailer, that you're not going to be able to get into too much trouble driving with. You're going to be able to control this boat fairly easily. 150 horsepower, that's going to be plenty to tube. That's going to be most likely enough to water ski with smaller skiers, and you will most likely be able to wakeboard with whoever you want behind there. A common misconception is that wakeboards need a lot of speed. That's actually not true. You actually just need enough power to get them on plane, and a wakeboard kind of acts like a wing when you go through the water. So you'd be surprised. You don't need that powerful of a boat to get somebody up on a wakeboard. Typically, you need more power to get somebody on skis. So it also depends on the ability level of the skier and their weight, whether it's wakeboarding or skiing. Most likely, if you've got someone that is a good water skier or a good wakeboarder, you're going to have no problem getting them up on this boat with the 150 horsepower outboard. Now, they do make this in a inboard drive configuration. If I was looking between the two boats, I would most likely, my opinion always is to go with the outboard over the inboard. And mainly that's because of maintenance. Winterization is going to be easier. And then you do have the ability, let's say that you live in a place like Ohio or Michigan or Wisconsin, you go with the outboard motor, you could always take this down to Florida, the Carolinas, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, wherever you wanted, and go in saltwater with this and be able to maintain the engine easily. With an inboard engine, saltwater typically has a greater effect because it's harder to flush that saltwater out than it is with the outboard. You can flush it out after every use. As well as, I just think over the long term, maintenance wise, you're going to end up spending less money on the outboard engine because everything is on the exterior of the boat. So if you go to a boat shop, it's going to be easier for them to work on. They don't have to crawl down in a bilge area to work on it. If you're going to do all the maintenance yourself, it's typically much easier as well. You don't have to worry about the motor freeze plugs as much or having a water system issue with an outboard. With inboards, let's say if you live in a northern climate and you don't winterize or drain that water out of the engine block, you can typically blow a freeze plug and or crack the engine block. With an outboard, as long as you make sure that water drains out at the end of your use and the end of your season, no issues there because that just drains out. That there's no internal water that's being stored in the engine. It's sucking it up, it's cooling the engine, and then spitting it out. So it's a lot easier in climates where you've got cold weather to make sure that you're not going to have any of those freeze issues. As well as because of that, it's going to give you a longer season in the spring and in the winter when you have potential freezing temperatures. Much safer to have an outboard engine in terms of freeze issues than an inboard engine. Another nice thing is that if you've got an area with a lot of marine growth, you can trim that motor up when you're done with it at the end of the day, and you're not going to get as much marine growth on it because that entire system is out of the water when you've got it trimmed up versus sitting down there collecting marine growth. So that's another advantage of an outboard. So had boats with both of them, inboard and outboard. I am a huge fan of outboards, and moving forward, other than exceptions out there, I would most likely be purchasing another outboard engine boat. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, and we hope you enjoyed this review of the Bayliner VR5 OB. There's also the Bayliner VR5 with the inboard engine. Basically, same layout and everything. You just have an inboard engine, and then you have a full swim platform in the back rather than the interruption with that outboard engine. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.